Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in. So welcome to TikTok Happy Hour. Happy Hour is our webinar series where TikTok employees talk about their life, work, and personal perspectives. So I'm Lina from HR for HR team. I'm the talent acquisition partner based in the Mountain View area of the US. So I'm basically in charge of the hiring for the whole Americas regions. And I'm so excited to have Chris here today. So Chris is leading our HR for HR team, talent acquisition team at TikTok. We will dive deeper into the way of working at TikTok and what candidates can expect for after joining us. So I know a lot of candidates are curious about our working style, company culture, and etc. So today we'll try to show you a piece of real life of working at TikTok. Okay. So let's start the conversation with some, introduction questions. So, hey, Grace, can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell our audience more about your team and also maybe what are some of the HR functions within TikTok?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lena, and thanks so much for hosting this webinar. Thanks also for allowing me to do this from my kid's bedroom here. It's a little bit messy, so apologies for that. But yeah, I'll just introduce myself a little bit. So I've been in recruitment for about 8 years, and I've been in HR and management for most of my career. I joined TikTok in February of 2020, and I lead talent acquisition for global HR for HR. So basically my team is responsible for all of the HR hiring for TikTok in the Americas, in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and in APAC. Now our team is close to 20 plus people. We're spread across, I think, maybe 7 or 8 cities in 4 countries, I think on 3 continents. So it's a very diverse team. A lot of people from different types of backgrounds coming either from other internal HR for HR teams, people who have come from tech backgrounds, non-tech, specialist recruitment agencies, etc.
Wow, that's very inspiring to know. So after being in talent acquisition for so many years, what attracts you most of being an HR professional?
Yeah, really good question. I think just from the pure recruitment standpoint, I absolutely love helping people connect with their dream job. Even after all of these years in recruitment and hiring hundreds of people, there's nothing more exciting than the thrill of seeing someone who gets a new job with a company that they really love. So just being part of that process gives me a lot of personal satisfaction. I from an HR perspective, I've just always been very deeply invested in developing people and helping people reach their potential. And I just think that there's no better field for doing that and for cultivating talent than in human resources.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Plus one to that, really be able to build up the relationship with the, candidates and really help them to kind of jump over the gap, not just for them to find a job, but be able to build up a career for them, maybe for the next 3 to 5 years, is also something always, inspiring me being on the talent acquisition part. So thank you for sharing that. So maybe let's talk a little bit more about working at TikTok. I understand you talk with candidates on a daily basis. So what are some frequent questions that you heard candidates ask about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think probably the most common question that I get is maybe a 2-part question. Why did you join TikTok and why do you stay? And I've been here now for 1.5 years. My answer has been pretty consistent from day one. The reason I joined is because I love fast growth startups. And I was really attracted to the mission, the core values of TikTok, and also just the team. Going through the interview process initially and just getting to know the team was really exciting for me. The reason why I stay is just because I love building things. I'm not a person who would feel satisfied in a company that was growing at like 2 or 3% per year. I just love working in hyper growth companies that are doing 2, 3, 4x growth, because I just think there's so much more meaningful work to do. There's a lot more room at the top for growth. And I just feel that that's much more fulfilling on a professional level.
Great, wonderful. I guess maybe I can. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I just want to turn that question back on you. Is that the only the question that people ask me, or what do people ask you?
Yeah, well, honestly speaking, most of the question I get from candidates will be, what do you like most, or what do you enjoy most by working at TikTok? You know, there are always like top two things come to my mind. Is first of all being able to work with a very diverse and very supportive teams. I think especially for us, you know, since we're working on the global HR for HR team, it's actually just very interesting to learn how different hiring practice, you know, from different countries and regions. And also it's always a lovely thing to see people, sometimes people just like throw random questions in the group chats. And then you can find people just, you know, really trying to help them by providing those answers. Sometimes the questions are even not related to that specific person or, you know, the position they're doing, but people are just willing to help. And then working with that kind of collaborative environment, you feel like you are never left alone. And then you are always being helped when you need there. And I think another really important thing is really be able to own the things I'm doing here. So I think the company-wise really knows like the hiring practice could be very different in each regions or each countries. Mm-hmm. So they really respect, you know, like each HR to do the things, you know, best, I guess, like adapt to the local situation. And then that way I can really utilize my experiences and my, you know, I think my knowledge to help the team build up things here. And that really give me a sense of achievement here. So yeah, but thanks for asking that.
Yeah. I'm sold. I love that answer.
Great. So another thing, you know, just want to discuss with you. So, you know, obviously here are some misconceptions that we gather from social media about working at TikTok. Do you think it's okay for me to choose some of them and ask you for a response here?
Yeah, for sure. Fire away.
Okay, great. Thank you for being open on that. So, you know, here's the one question. Decisions are often made in China without regional inputs and not updated in time. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We have a mantra, which is to think globally but act locally. And I think the comment that you mentioned, that type of decision making may have been somewhat true in the past, but I would encourage people to remember that TikTok, the global teams are just a couple of years old, sometimes maybe 1, 2, 3 years old. And you can just go to the career site and you'll see there's massive hiring happening, you know, all over the world. And you know, that, like I said before, I mean, that's all across North and South America, Europe, APAC, etc. And the reason why we're doing that is so that we can just decentralize things further and adapt more to the local needs. So it's definitely a work in progress, but I think that we're definitely trying to, again, just decentralize things and give more autonomy to the local markets.
Exactly. I think that's also true, like why we're hiring so many people for each regions. It's also we're trying to provide more like, you know, local support to each region here. Another question I do have here is, you know, we heard about like TikTok has a really flat structure. So does that really mean there's little room for personal growth, you know, within TikTok?
Yeah, any person who felt that or heard that there was no room for growth, I guess I would maybe challenge them to describe what growth actually is, right? So if you're working for a more kind of traditional or legacy company, you know, maybe growth is defined as something that's actually relatively superficial, like being promoted from associate to consultant to senior consultant. And if you're looking for that type of growth, I think you're right. At TikTok, then you cannot grow. Why? The reason why is because we don't have job titles here. So that type of growth actually isn't possible. It's not part of our culture. We want to maintain a very flat organization. And I think job titles are just something that gets in the way of that. So if you really think deeply about growth and what growth is, and reflect on your life and your career, I think most of the growth that you've experienced has probably been achieved by overcoming something challenging.
Right.
So actual growth by doing challenging work,
Mm-hmm.
and then learning from the experience and trying to improve yourself, whether you succeed or fail. So
Mm-hmm.
we try and create space for people to involve themselves in challenging work, and then
Mm-hmm.
try and foster a safe environment where they can fail. They feel comfortable to make mistakes. Hopefully they fail fast and fail forward. And that's how actual innovation and growth can happen.
Great. Yeah. Well, since we're talking about this, right, let's, talk a little bit more there. So do you mind to share a little bit of your insights, or what are some available development programs at TikTok that are available to, employees there?
Yeah, I think I would describe it this way. We have a 70-20-10 principle when it comes to development. So that what that actually means is 70% of your growth is owned by you, 20% by your manager, and 10% through some type of structured learning. So for the 10% piece, there's a lot of different ways that you can find that. Internally, we have different types of learning platforms that you can easily access, and you have opportunities to attend different types of trainings and talks and so forth by industry experts. So that's a great way to improve in specific areas. I think for the 70% piece, 70% again is owned by the employee, and there can be a lot of on-the-job learning. Again, just kind of going back to that part that we talked about before with doing really challenging and exciting work.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of the growth occurs, is through on-the-job training, if you will. And I think it's really up to the employee to have a clear vision for their career and add shape to that journey. And the manager's role, the 20%, I think that their responsibility is to help the employee on that journey, connect them to the right people, connect them to the right resources, give them advice, remove obstacles, and basically just help them go to where they want to be in the future.
Right. Yeah, absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, I would maybe turn that question back on you, because I think you've been here now for maybe half a year or so. How would you describe your experience, and what does growth look like for you?
Well, honestly speaking, I think I'm growing much faster than I will expect, before I join here. So I think, really, if you are be able to find your place here, the only question you probably need to worry about is, are you ready for those fast growing opportunity, in front of you? I think TikTok right now is at an interesting stage that we're just really in need of strong talents. So once you show you're ready for that kind of challenge, and then you can demonstrate you are able to deliver, then there's tons of opportunities for you to grow. I think that's, basically speaks about myself. So personally, I wasn't promised to be a kind of a leadership role, before I joined, but just within the past few months, my team actually doubled the size. So it's very exciting. It's also a challenging, I guess for me, but I really enjoy that. And I hope this really gives the opportunity to challenge myself, but also be able to grow with the company, as fast as possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, that journey really resonates for me, because it was the same situation. I came in not necessarily promised anything in terms of a role or team size or anything like that, and now, the team, we have just dozens of people kind of spread out all over the world, and continuing to grow. So that's really exciting, and really presents some unique challenges, but I think that's where the real growth happens.
Exactly. Yeah. So talk about a little bit more about the business side, I guess. What's your understanding about how HR help you build business at TikTok?
It's another really good question. I get that type of question a lot, especially from senior level HR candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And HR is really at the core of the business growth at a strategic level. TikTok is growing so fast right now,
Mm-hmm.
and HR is really the fuel for that growth. If you want to grow the business, you can't go anywhere unless you have a strong talent acquisition team. So it starts there, and then if you just think about that employee life cycle, you need HR operations to onboard all of those new employees and drive the employee experience. And of course, you have your centers of expertise to just kind of aid in the employees' development and their journey. While they're here at TikTok. So whether it's learning and development, rewards, employee culture, etc. So it all really starts with HR, and HR definitely has a seat at the table for driving ahead of that business strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great to hear that HR are really being valued here, and then they are, can really make an impact in terms of like the organizational change here. So thanks
Mhm.
for sharing that, Chris. Let's talk a little bit more about culture here. So what qualities, in terms of culture or values are you looking for, when you're interviewing candidates?
Good question. So I guess I'm going to tell everyone the secret to getting hired at TikTok. I would say that number one for me is communication. So
Okay.
the pace here, as you know, is very, very fast. So people need to be able to communicate their ideas very succinctly, both verbally and in writing. Really strong persuasion skills, analytical skills, etc. And I think from the standpoint of key traits and characteristics that are commonly found in high-performing employees, we want people who are very curious, who want to explore new possibilities, people who
Mm-hmm.
are very conscientious in their work, so they always will be very thorough in everything that they do as a matter of kind of personal pride. People are very hungry and tenacious, and I think also people who have a long-term orientation as well. So I think those are some of the really key traits and characteristics that we look for in great HR at TikTok.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that secrets here. I just take a notes here.
Mm.
Cool. So, just like the way like HR help on the business side. So, how do you think HR helps shape the culture at TikTok?
Yeah, good question. I think that HR is obviously the culture carrier for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
We always say that the HR is the role model for the organization. So we want to bring in people who are really passionate about building up that culture. And I mentioned this before as well, just in terms of our global expansion. So we want to make sure that we have a unified global culture, but also with regional nuances. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the other key there is just embracing diversity, and
Right.
diversity comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. So that means diversity of background and thought and so forth, and just really allowing people to be themselves at work. Developing a listening culture, an innovative culture, all of those things, and really HR is the key for driving all of those kind of cultural aspects of the company.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that even applies more to our HR for HR team. I think for lots of time mentioned about like we are actually the role model, for the whole HR teams throughout the organization. So I hope we can contribute more there. So let's talk a little bit more about hiring here. As we all know, our team is also hiring. So maybe Chris, you want to share with our audience a little bit more about like which roles are open right now?
Yeah, so a little bit of self-promotion. Our team is definitely hiring. We're hiring in New York City, in Los Angeles, Mountain View, Singapore, London, etc. But more broadly across the HR spectrum, we're hiring for HR VPs in Los Angeles. We're always in need of talent acquisition. Again, in some of those key global cities, Mountain View, Singapore, London, etc. We have some incredible opportunities in talent acquisition operations, organizational culture, compensation and benefits, payroll, pretty much anything HR, you name it, almost anywhere. TikTok is probably hiring. So I think those are some of the key roles, though.
Yeah, well, plus one to that. So if you guys are interested in exploring, I guess, like talent acquisition partner position or HR VP positions, especially on the West Coast of the US, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm willing to talk with you guys. Okay, so, well, this will be our last question, but Chris, do you mind to describe Team TikTok in one word?
In one word? One word is always a tough one. I would say inspiring. And I think from my perspective, again, we've talked a lot about our own HR for HR team. I'm just really constantly inspired and oftentimes just pleasantly surprised by our team. Not only in terms of the output, but just as you talked about before, just the way that people take care of each other, that people genuinely like each other and people want to help each other. And that's just always so encouraging to see. So just really, truly inspired by the HR team, and working together with yourself and the rest of the team has definitely been a highlight of being a TikToker. Great to hear that. What about for yourself? I'm going to hold you to the same standard. One word.
Well, you have said all the good words there, right? So for me, I will get to the foundation. I will say collaboration. Okay. And kind of, echo to what we have stated before. I think collaboration is really the foundation for us to achieve all those things. I think especially I feel that for the US regions, that just like so many things are being developed, being initiated, and then we won't be able to achieve that if we're not helping each other. So I think collaboration is really allows us to do all those things here, and I really appreciate the support given by everybody on the team. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Okay. So thank you, Chris. Well, it has been an absolutely pleasure, to talk with you. But that's all the time we have, and we really appreciate all the insights that you have provided for us today. And to those of you tuning in, thank you for spending time with us today. If you're interested in joining the TikTok, please go to careers.tiktok.com website, and then hopefully we can talk with you soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.